I'm trying to offer to you is that we are living in unprecedented times. So how to prepare you? The first thing that as a teacher, I'm a teacher and I would speak on behalf of teacher, the first thing that a teacher needs to be humble enough to understand is that a teacher doesn't teach. Students learn. The only role of a teacher is to create a learning environment in the class. That's it. If you can create a learning environment, the teachers would have done their job and the students would have picked up on their own. Because if a teacher has the audacity to think that I know what a child will be requiring in 2085, I think the teacher is deluding herself. 50% of all the professions that you would be having after the 10 years time have not been invented yet. When I was an engineering student in the year 1999, many of the professions that today are a vogue weren't even existing. Nobody wanted to be a commercial airline pilot. No girl wanted to aspire to be an air hostess. Nobody was wanting to be a tattoo artist or an ear piercing artist. But today some of the highest paid professions are where people have followed their passions. So let me give you 5 tips. And all the parents, don't think that these tips are for your children. They are equally for you. Because more than a teacher, more than the principal, the real role modeling has to happen through the parents. Because please understand, whatever you may say, your children are deaf to you. But whatever you do, they always watch you. They don't hear what you are saying, but they watch what you are doing. So if you are not disciplined as a parent, make no hopes from your child to be a miracle boy, because after all, he is sharing your genes. So how radically different can your child be? And don't blame yourself if the child turns out to be something radically different, for good or bad, because there is always a nature and a nurture. So here are the 5 tips, and I would strongly recommend you to take notes. Take physical notes if you've got a pen and a paper. If you don't have a pen and a paper, take out your phone. And if you don't have a phone, then remember what I'm saying now. The first thing is that you are sitting in Bangalore. Bangalore is the city which has the highest per capita income of any city in the country. The wealthiest city in the country is Bombay, but also the most populous city in the country is Bombay. And the wealth distribution in Bombay is very asymmetric. This is the most highest per capita economy in the country, is the city where you are. So the first thing is you have a locational advantage. And don't mistake location advantage, because people who say geography is a history, they don't understand the importance of geography. Geography is not history. Geography is destiny. Being at the right place is the single most important stroke of fortune that can happen to you in your entire life. And for those of you who have chosen to be here by choice and not by luck, have done the right thing first. And that's the reason why if somebody were to be just about a Jew in 1930 in Germany, however smart the Jew would be, the prospects are very dim. At the same time, if somebody were to be growing up in 1980s and 1990s in Silicon Valley, most likely he or she would be a startup founder. If somebody were to be around in the UK in 1950s, there is a very high likelihood that the person would have been into a research profession. So being at the right place is the first and the foremost critical choice, and that's been bestowed upon you. Many people ask that why did IT industry happen in Bangalore? One is, of course, we have this gigantic congregation of talent which has come from across the world. I have been an immigrant to Bangalore 20 years back, and I call this as my city. Though I don't know a word of Kannada, but still I call this as my city, because this city has given me almost everything which I am today. Why? Why did IT revolution happen in Bangalore, not in Chennai, then Madras, not in Hyderabad, not in Pune, not in Bombay, not in any other part of the country, not Trivandrum, certainly not Delhi? It happened in Bangalore because we already had a gigantic ecosystem of scientific research and temperament in the city, in the form of IISc. IISc was started close to 110 years back by Mr. J.R.D. Tata. Jamsetji Tata, in fact, his uncle Jamsetji Tata started this. We had ISRO, started by Mr. Satish Dhawan in 1969 in Bangalore. Started in Trivandrum initially, but then they had their head office in Bangalore. And very interestingly, why did ISRO have a head office in Bangalore, Kasturi Nagar, and not in Delhi, and not in Trivandrum? Is because one of the students of C.V. Raman, by the name Satish Dhawan, later on became the successor of Vikram Sarabhai, was the director of IISc Bangalore. And he said that the only condition I'll be a director of IISc Bangalore is if you start ISRO at the head office in Bangalore, so that I can travel between IISc and ISRO. And that's your moonlighting of 1960s, by the way. So what I'm trying to offer is that we had BHEL, HAL, DRDO, NIMHANS, of course my alma mater, IIM Bangalore, which is 52-year-old. When you have a massive aggregation of such economic institutions in a place, it's hardly a chance that economy would prosper. So scientific temperament of the city, and that's the reason the first time FASTag was launched was in this city. Digi Yatra was launched in this city. All the Digi Yatra pilots were done in Bangalore. Aadhars were launched here. Any pilot that the government of India has to do, anything happens in the city of Bangalore. Because even the auto driver here is technologically savvy, which you would not see. Only last evening I was in Hyderabad. I returned from Hyderabad at 2 a.m. this morning. And Hyderabad, many people migrated from Bangalore to Hyderabad on the pretext that Hyderabad is a bigger physical infrastructure. If you've been to Hyderabad, you know what I mean to say. You can go from the airport right into the heart of the city through a flyover in no time. Here in our city, you would really be lucky if you can reach into the city on that day. But the thing is that Bangalore is far ahead in soft infrastructure. Bangalore may not have a great hard infrastructure, but the soft infrastructure and a massive credit of what we are today actually goes back to Mr. Krishna. It was Mr. S.M. Krishna who passed away yesterday, who laid the foundation of the IT industry which we are all benefiting from today. So that's the first thing. Geography is not history, geography is your destiny. The second thing is that when you are in the city, you need to understand that what is the city famous for. I have traveled extensively across the country, and this is my sort of a humorous categorization. Don't take it literally, don't quote me elsewhere outside the room. But here is my humorous classification of which city fits where. So if you have money, you live in Bombay. If you have political connections, you live in Delhi. If you know the local language and you have a massive tolerance, then you live in Chennai. But if you have knowledge, you live in Bangalore. Because in Bangalore, it doesn't matter how wealthy you are. It doesn't matter how much political connections you have. If you have knowledge in this city respects you. Whether we talk about the founders of Zomato, who migrated from Delhi, the founders of Flipkart, who migrated from Chandigarh, Binny Bansal and Sachi Bansal. These two Bansal, they're not brothers, but they're not even relatives. They're from the same batch of IIT Delhi. They started their Flipkart business in National Games Village, Koramangala, NGV. And with the first few shipments which they did, they packed their own bearings. Koramangala pin code, which is 560095, has the highest density of startup in the country. 560095 pin code, mind you. Even any other pin code in the country can't fit that. So if you are in this city and if you don't entertain the thought of being a startup founder, then I think you are missing out the biggest boat in the history of this country. Thanks to our leadership, we are destined to become one of the most powerful countries in the next 50 years. I may not see India becoming a developed economy, but most likely you would see that happen. And hopefully I'll also see that happen because I am also practicing yoga. So I might also see that, and I'll also take a yoga mat today. The thing is that you will be living in some of the most economically prosperous times. Now you can't be economically powerful and morally bankrupt. You need to have the self-confidence to walk shoulder to shoulder with the people who have been ruling India for many, many centuries now. What Britishers did to India, and Britishers ruled India for only 88 years, by the way. For those who think that Britishers ruled India for 250 years are wrong. The rule of Britishers was only 88 years, mind you. So anybody who's sitting in the room, I'm hazarding a guess, but almost anybody sitting in the room hasn't seen British rule in India. Because almost everybody, I'm assuming, as a hazarding a guess, was born after 45. So Britishers ruling India is not in your memory. Britishers ruling India is perhaps in your genes. And unless and until we come out of that indictment of them telling us what is good and what is bad, we could never ever live to our fullest potential. And we don't have to look at the West, we have to look at the East. We look back at our rich history. It's so funny and unfortunate that only when the Western world tells the importance of yoga that we start celebrating International Yoga Day. When they started telling about the chess is when we start picking the chess. When they tell about Pythagoras theorem by Pythagoras, then you start realizing the kind of amazing work that you have done. So I think we need more self-confidence. Not knowledge so much, really self-confidence. So the second thing is you need to have self-confidence. In the world going forward, I would err on the side of overconfidence than on the side of underconfidence. Because if you think that you have a genius idea and the investor should come to you to talk to you, make no mistakes. Who doesn't have a genius idea? Idea is not the currency. The real currency is courage. Do you have the courage? And I challenge you this thing, that let's see how many of you actually walk up to me and ask for my card. Not credit card, business card. I challenge you. Most of the people would not do that. This is maybe the 50th time that I've been speaking to such an audience, either at a graduating ceremony or at the induction ceremony. I'm always more hopeful in the induction ceremony because we have 2 years. In the graduate ceremonies, the water is already flown under the bridge, so we can't do much. But in this ceremony, people don't come up. And the reason people don't come up and talk to the people who are the guests, etc., is not that we will insult you. Obviously, in the rightful mind, I'll never insult you. I may be out of my card, but I'll not be out of my wit. I'll not insult you. But to take the first step to come out of your desk and reach me and shake hands with me and ask, that itself is the first point of courage. If you can't demonstrate the courage right now, believe me, you'll be struggling throughout your life. You may be sitting with your head full of ideas, but morally, you might be out of courage. So be courageous. So first is location. Second is courage. The third aspect is curiosity. I'm a big fan of Rabindranath Tagore and Amir Khusro. Rabindranath Tagore, who was the first person outside Europe to win a Nobel Prize in the year 1930 for his small collection called Gitanjali. Rabindranath Tagore was one of the most iconic figures known as Gurudev in India. And Tagore was the one who gave Mahatma Gandhi the word Mahatma. He started calling Mahatma Gandhi Mahatma. Even today, whenever we look at songs, whether it is in the Bengali literature or we have in the Hollywood, we are not short of what we call as Rabindra Sangeet. Rabindranath Tagore himself not only wrote many, many books, he started painting. And at what age did he start painting? He started painting at the age of 60. From 60 years to his death in 1941 when he was 80-year-old, he made 2,000 paintings. He wrote more than 100 books. One of them crossed the Atlantic, went to UK. He translated Gitanjali in the year 1911. It went to UK in 1912. They declared Nobel Prize in 1913. In 1914, the Queen Victoria said, we want to give knighthood to Rabindranath Tagore. In 1914, he got the knighthood. In 1919, Jallianwala Bagh happened, and in 1919, he said, I don't need your knighthood. Take it back. That was Tagore for me. Now, why did Tagore, and his life was so much depressive. Between 1901 and 1907, he lost his father, he lost his mother, he lost his daughter, he lost his wife, he lost his son. I bet you, if in a span of 6 years, you have such a massive tragedy falling under you, the next could be you. And yet, out of the vestiges of what life gave to him, he came out and he gave us Gitanjali. What I want to offer to you is that life will do stuff to you. What matters is how you respond. So if you think that the moment you get out of this college, there will be recruiters queuing up to lap you up or to almost kidnap you into their company, it's not going to happen. Even if recruiters are lined up, you still have to prove your case. Even if the recruiter is your cousin, you still have to prove your case. So I think you need to develop that propensity of being very, very audacious, being a good salesperson, being entrepreneurial. And you have to take the problems in your life, tragedies in your life, in the right spirit. I really wish, because I have the mic, I can speak that as well. I really wish all of us should have difficulties in life. We should have difficulties. I pray that all of you should have difficulties in life. I never pray your life should be easy. Because when you have difficulties in your life, God also gives you the strength to fight those difficulties, and then you become a role model and you become a lesson for the people after you that what a life should be. Amir Khusro's life, I don't have time to indulge into Amir Khusro's life, but Amir Khusro invented tabla, invented sitar, invented the language called Urdu, and he was the one who invented the language called Hindi. It was called Hindavi. He invented ghazals, he invented qawwali, he wrote more than 4 lakh sher, couplets, and many things, and he was again a migrant to India. So the last thing which I want to offer to you, apart from the geography, apart from the sort of ability to have courage, is your very important aspect of, and apart from of course curiosity, we need to be very curious. Be curious about things around. Be curious about the startup ecosystem in Bangalore. Go and talk to people. Nobody will come to you, believe me. You may be a genius, but you need to go and talk to people. And the last thing which I want to offer to you is the importance of ethics and integrity. It's very easy in the world of ChatGPT to crack an exam. If you think you can fool your teacher by using ChatGPT, you are most welcome. Please fool your teacher. But please understand, whether you fool your teacher, you don't fool your teacher, you can't fool the market. The market forces are beyond you, beyond your teacher. Be my guest, fool your teacher. And in the process, maybe the teacher will also learn how to use ChatGPT, which I think is a welcome move. But the life is long. We are looking at not a job, we are looking at not even a career, we are looking at a life. And by the time you retire, life expectancy in this country will be 90 years. So what will you do from 60 years of age to 90 years of age? You need a real talent, real skill. And that's why the importance of ethics and integrity. In the world of business, by the way, you don't have to do too many right things. All you have to avoid are 1 or 2 wrong things. 1 or 2 mistakes in your life on the realms of integrity can finish your life and career. So please understand that apart from being academically excellent, apart from being physically and emotionally fit, never ever compromise on the importance of ethics and integrity. I can never ever overstate integrity, but the way I would like to convey the importance of ethics and integrity is through this small story. When I was an MBA student at IIM Bombay in the year 2004, my first job was with a company called Wipro. And we were 120 graduates from across the country who joined Wipro on the fateful day. And we were taken through an induction program at Wipro for a week, where the various business unit heads would come and talk about their pet peeves. The CEO of Wipro at that point of time was a person by the name of Vivek Paul. He was the CEO. And we heard him as well as to what is the mission of Wipro, where does the company want to go, etc. But there was one lecture which was reserved for only one person. And the lecture was on integrity and ethics. And the lecture was given by none other than Azim Premji. So I was wondering that why should Azim Premji come and talk about integrity and ethics? Why can't the CEO of the company, Vivek Paul, talk about integrity and ethics? Why should Azim Premji come? And Azim Premji will ensure that every year, without fail, wherever he is in the world, whatever is a health condition, every year without fail, he will always come to the induction program of the new joiner batch and talk about only one topic, which is called ethics and integrity. So on that day, I had mustered the courage to ask Premji that, sir, why should you talk about integrity and ethics? And this is what he said. He said that if I can delegate the topic of integrity and ethics to somebody else, then it simply means I don't mean it. The only way I prove that I mean integrity and ethics is by being present myself. That is the importance of integrity and ethics. Now, you may not have any course in integrity and ethics, but on a daily basis, you will get a lot of opportunities to prove that you have integrity by not copying, by not cheating, by not shortchanging, by having empathy, by not having one-upmanship, by not shortchanging somebody on the way to getting a job. Daily, you will have a lot of occasions, and if you can prove yourself, then you are a good manager. So with that, I would like to close my talk, and I'll be very happy to meet all of you. Thank you so much.